That is the coaching changes in the ACC. So it was ranged from yeah to wow, stunning, right? Let's start get with the stunning part first. Bronco Mendenhall walking away from UVA. I think he's going to coach the bowl game and then ride off into the sunset. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. I thought he did a great job of changing the coach at UVA. I thought that the players bought in. I think that he got as much out of that. He squeezed a lot of that juice, as much that juice out of that of those players as he could. And I think though that program should be forever grateful for him for doing what he did. So I'll go backwards with Matthew, talk about your arch rival right quick. We'll go to Jeff. How stunning was Bronco Mendenhall's announcement of his impending departure from the university? Do you think I know you're cynical, but do you think there's some more behind the scenes that we don't know about? I mean, I could imagine that he's being forced out. Matthew's on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I've actually written, and I'm being serious when I say this. I've written some very positive things at All Sports Discussion. Jeff knows this about Bronco Mendenhall. I think he's a really good man, and I think he teaches his players a lot of good lessons. But Virginia really missed an opportunity to bag on a bad a Virginia Tech team that, quite frankly, hasn't been good the last couple of years, and still found a way, to really. I mean, Broncos like 1-5 against Virginia Tech.
Isn't that crazy?
You know what I mean? Yeah, he's 1-5 against Virginia Tech, and it really took the best player in the history of that university to beat Virginia Tech, right? A quarterback 2 years ago to beat Virginia Tech. I mean, just an extraordinarily athlete, one of the best ones that they've ever had. And, I'm wondering if Carla saw the writing on the wall, the AD. I like their AD. I like Carla a lot.
Yeah, she's very respectful.
And I'm wondering if she saw that, gosh, we really missed an opportunity to be the best team in the state of Virginia. And, so I think that's part of that. I don't think that, I don't think that, Bronco's done a lot. Like I said, he's done a lot for that university. He's donated a lot of cash to that university. He's taught the kids at that university a lot of really good lessons. But I think they missed an opportunity, to really elevate their program when Virginia Tech's program was kind of in, I hate to say it, wasn't in the best shape.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'll add about that is that, and I'm not sure if Bronco has been able to find the way to shake the trees in terms of getting resources for the football program there. Like they're really known as having some of the ACC's worst football facilities.
Mm.
I mean, it's just really, I think that, I mean, and maybe even worse, I mean, we're talking down in Miami's hasn't been great either, by the way.
Right.
But
we'll talk about them later.
Yeah. But Virginia, Virginia's football resources and facilities hasn't been great. And maybe that's part of the thinking and the change that we've got to be able to, shake things up so we can get more money for football. But at the same time, if you guys have been following this on Twitter, just like I have about the University of Virginia, they seem to be not getting the options that they want at coach. I'm not even sure that they're going to get Jeff's OC there from Clemson. That seems like that's a minute by minute sort of thing, and that they keep throwing other names out there. So, I mean, it did catch me off a little off guard, but if you look at Broncos' record in context, it really has. He's maybe got them as far as he can.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, what do you have to add to that, Jeff? Because that's interesting. Because that, again, Matthew in particular is real close to it, but that's an extra added layer of nuance that people don't realize. That I didn't realize is that I always thought that as Virginia is a very Ivy League-like institution, right? And I don't, hearing you, Matthew, say that they don't commit as much resource to football as the other conference mates, even that's really, it shouldn't be that surprising. But, you know, as far as that very academic focus, that's fine. That's great. Right. It's just this, in this era of college, big business college football. Yeah, that's the reason why they're having trouble. And I don't know if they're really going to get Tony Elliott or not from Clemson, to be honest with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I think, the Broncos situation was really kind of strange, and I'm not sure if we'll ever know exactly what was going on there. I know that he definitely, wasn't fired, that it was a personal decision.
Sure.
But I heard like rumors in the background that there was being asked to make some staff changes, especially maybe on the defensive side of the ball, and that it kind of got personal with him to have to force it. I mean, so I think some of the things that Matthew was saying about getting pressure from the outside could have played a role where he himself wasn't in trouble, but maybe he just wasn't comfortable with college football, with what was happening at Virginia, maybe with what he might have had to do on the staff or something with recruiting. It definitely seemed like he was making a personal decision to leave Virginia, and who knows if there was some parts about facilities in there too. It's hard to say, but I think he did a lot of good things at Virginia, that's for sure, with the Bryce Perkins year.
Right.
But I mean, who knows how much it played into it, because this year, losing to Virginia Tech, I think a game that many of us expected them to win. They were atrocious on defense during this year, even with, Brennan Armstrong had to try to score 50 points a game,
right,
for them to win. So
and defense is calling call too. So yeah,
exactly. So it just seemed like he just wasn't comfortable with being at Virginia anymore and coaching in general. But I know that he wasn't pushed out. I really don't believe that to be the case at all, and that didn't seem to be part of it. But who knows if they were pushing him to do things, make staff changes he wasn't really comfortable with. And he's a really good coach. Coming out of BYU, they were known for being a tough physical team. And I think most of us thought he was a pretty good hire for Virginia.
Mhm.
Just not sure how he would do recruiting the Mid-Atlantic area. But got Virginia to an ACC title game. I think he went to an Orange Bowl or a Big Six Bowl. I remember
Orange
the
Bowl,
Florida
yeah,
game,
against Florida,
the
yeah.
Orange Bowl. So
Yeah.
he had a fair amount of success, and it elevated that program. But yeah, that was a definite surprise to see him move on. And as far as Tony Elliott and Virginia, I know that the Penn State coordinator, former player, I know his last name is Poindexter. I
Yeah.
think Anthony Poindexter.
Yeah.
He looked to be the leading candidate for the last several days, and then that kind of fell through. And now Tony Elliott looked like it was almost a done deal. Now they're saying it hit a snag, and who knows what's going to go on there with Tony Elliott and Clemson and Virginia.
Honestly, it makes me wonder if they're lowballing candidates on salary when they come in the door, that are perhaps first time head coach, which I think is I'm sorry, I think it is wrong, and it makes me wonder if Virginia is doing that, or if these guys are saying, okay, if you want to compete in football, you've got to be willing to put money toward your facilities like everybody else is. And I'm wondering if that's, I seriously am wondering if that's the major snag, and anybody that they're trying to offer.
Yeah, because one has to, I'm just wondering why it's so tough for Virginia to make this decision to hire, because I didn't realize that they consider Poindexter, who's an All-American, former Virginia great, right? Who's co-defensive coordinator at Penn State. So it's not like it's not like he hasn't been around success. And did Poindexter play under Welsh? Did he play under Welsh? I did not look that up earlier, but I'm wondering.
I think so. I think
he did.
Yeah. Okay.
Poindexter
So
there in the mid late 90s.
Yeah.
Yep. I think he did, and I think that's the one, Scott, that everybody wanted at Virginia.
Oh, see,
Yes,
there you go. There you
that
go.
was their top choice by their fan base.
Yeah.
They thought they had him.
Hmm. So that's another wrinkle. So it makes me wonder, what is Virginia go? I mean, it's like Wake Forest is the smallest one of the smallest Division I schools in FBS period, in the Power Five, not only Power Five, but FBS period, right? They're even smaller. They're half the size. Enrollment is half the size of North Carolina A&T, right up highway like Interstate 40, right? And that's the HBCU. So and I say Wake Forest because Wake has been putting in more resources. They've been
Oh, and they
able to
got
garner the
laundry. They got
resources.
laundry service. They got laundry service too for their students.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing, and you see their field compared to when I was growing up. I grew up only 10 miles from Wake Forest. So that field, I'm telling you, it's like night. That's like the field now is Taj Mahal compared to when I was growing up. It was just crappy, matted up, grassy field, muddy. The stadium was like decrepit looking. I mean, Wake has really put in the resources. Even Duke is putting the resources at the at the football field. So they took out the track. Remember, they took out the track. They modernized everything. So if those two private schools, small private schools, were able to do it, what's stopping Virginia? Why is Virginia, again, Ivy League level? They have a huge endowment, and they have a prominent alumni base. So it's not like they're hurting for cash. Why? What's the problem, Jeff? Why can't they? I mean, they're able to compete with the basketball, but why not football?
Yeah, I think they didn't quite build on that Orange Bowl season,
Mm-hmm.
and then COVID hit last year, and then they haven't. I think what we thought could be a struggle for Bronco, when I mentioned before about recruiting in the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, he wasn't recruiting at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the offense was spectacular. The teams, they didn't look, that poorly coached. Okay, on the defensive side of the ball, they had their issues, but he just couldn't, he couldn't get those elite players in there. So Virginia had that high watermark, couldn't get over the hump, and they're going to have to look at Virginia, kind of what Miami's done. Are they really going to go in like Miami has apparently done, going all out to get Radakovich and get Cristobal, that I think we'll talk about a little bit later, and really make a gigantic investment, and not just say, hey, I'm going to change coaches, but really invest if you want to try to compete, at a higher level than what they've done over the last decade outside of a couple of years. So, Virginia just has to decide what do they want to do going forward? How much do they really want to invest? Are they just going to, go all in with the basketball program and basically be, another, well, I was about to say be another Duke, but Duke did make some heavy investments into football, but I think that's just too big of a, it's just too big of a climb for Duke to consistently be good at football in a way that I think Virginia is capable of doing if they really put in the investment.
Yeah. And speaking of Miami, quite a segue. We
Yeah.
go to Miami, where they finally got their man Mario Cristobal albeit at the expense of Manny Diaz, but they made that hire a few days ago, and they had their press conference. Mario Cristobal comes home. I know he was visiting his ailing mother in between the Pac-12 championship game. They were in Summer, Oregon, and whatnot, and they just hired. I just saw this on my phone just now. I guess this kind of came late last night. Miami also hired Clemson's former athletic director, Dan Radakovich. So I say all that to say this. Remember all that time when Miami was saying, we don't have the money, right? We don't have the money to invest in a lot of our football, in the athletics, particularly football. Remember they used that as an excuse to ship the football team 40 minutes north to Miami Gardens where the Dolphins play. Now, and also remember former coach Mark Richt forked out $1 million of his own dollars to get the indoor facility. Now someone's come out the woodwork with all this money, and which is nice. But I wish that they were able to do Manny Diaz like that. I wish that they were able to support him, because I know he did an okay job, but he did two things: brought him from 2-4 back to not only to a bowl eligibility and whatnot, but he found a new quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke. He did that. So where the ship could have been sunk at the 2-4 start, he righted the ship and did the best he could, and then he got rewarded by showing the door. Not only that, but negotiating behind the man's back where he still has a job and why he's still recruiting. And I don't like that on any level. But anyway, good for Cristobal. But Jeff, it just seems kind of sketchy that they did Manny Diaz like that. I mean, I guess it is what it is. They wanted to minimize what. I get all that, but I wish that Diaz had that same support that Cristobal has been at least promised and what appears to be getting in terms of. We'll talk about the rest of the stuff later with the coach when he brings to the table.
Yeah, there's no question. Miami did Manny Diaz dirty. I mean, they did him pretty dirty.
He's a Miami guy too.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, how Miami's gonna, handle their football program and their athletics going forward. With, if I'm Mark Cristobal, I'm sleeping with one eye open at all times.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they made it clear they're going to commit, and they're going all in now. And
Finally.
And Cristobal was the guy they wanted. He's been successful at Oregon. He has those ties, like you said, to Miami, to the area, and they basically gave him, everything he was looking for: the commitment, the budget, and I think we all know Miami's basically a sleeping giant.
All that talent down there.
All that talent down in Florida and Dade County. That if you just start getting players in there, they can win. They can win a lot of games. And with that young quarterback they have, Taylor Van Dyke, I mean, he's got all-American potential, NFL, potential. He could be one of the best quarterbacks in the conference next year, most definitely.
Right.
And now with Dan Radakovich on board, who, I don't know if I would say he's an outstanding AD, as far as like hiring, who he hires and the contracts he puts together for his coaches. But one thing that he will do that he is very good at is he fundraises and he builds stuff.
Yes,
he did
he's
it
a
with,
builder.
like that. He's a builder. Maybe not necessarily like the vision of being like a program builder, but as far as being a facility builder, he will take that to any board and say, hey, we need this new X, Y, or Z. He built at Georgia Tech. He basically built an amusement park at Clemson.
Yes,
and,
he did a sliding board in the facility.
Slide, the bowling alley.
Yeah.
I mean, if Mario Cristobal wants some of that at Miami, he's going to find a way to get it done. And that's going what his advantage is going to be with Radakovich, is that they're going to build. And so those are two guys in place, and Miami has a chance. They have a real chance to get something going there in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And again, to your point, you got to recruit this, what they said in 30 for 30, the state of Miami.
Yeah.
You got to recruit the state of Miami. I mean, Cristobal, during his time at Oregon, he took a lot of guys from South Florida.
Yes.
Remember
that's
that.
Right.
He took a lot of guys from South Florida. And having him back home, again, with the commitment, I mean, he's getting paid $8 million per year, right? And you mentioned Radakovich. He is a builder. I call him Bob the Builder as far as ADs are concerned, because what he did at Georgia Tech and what he really did at Clemson. Oh my God. Clemson just, wow. They if they don't build a statue of Bedakovich, I don't know, they're doing something wrong. But Matthew, again, I just wonder, and it's too, that's what upsets me, not upsets me, I mean, because I'm an NC State guy, but still, from the human standpoint, why didn't, I get that Manny Diaz won everyone's cup of tea, but to be fair, why didn't Manny get the same commitment? Because one man just a fallout, just thin air. They had to be sitting, Miami had to be sitting on it. So why the commitment now?
He should have gotten the same level of commitment. And I agree with you, but I'm going to be a devil's advocate on one part here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't think they treated Manny well at all. And I agree with you both.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think Manny didn't treat Temple very well on his way out.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
And you've got to, at some point, karma comes back to get you. I'm a believer in karma. Right. And and he didn't treat them very well either. And he's getting it's tough for some coaches that are involved, but he's also getting a buyout as part of his deal. I'm sure he's happy he's getting his buyout. I'm sure he wasn't treated that well. I agree with you both, but I also think that we got to judge him on the other side of the coin here on what his past actions were as well.
Right. So basically, fellas, remember that talk about having a football stadium that what they said, the Miami administration said, that they don't have the funds or the wherewithal to build a stadium near or around campus, particularly near the old Orange Bowl site. I think the Marlins Stadium is around there somewhere now. I think I may be wrong about that. But anyway, now word on the street is there's a billionaire alumnus of the school who pledges some X amount of money to get that ball rolling. Maybe a 40,000 to 50,000 seat stadium near campus, close to campus, in Coral Gables. So again, where was this?
And they're getting money from healthcare too, man. From what I read, it sounds like the University of Miami healthcare system is just rolling in the cash, and I guess that happens during a pandemic.
Yeah. So I think Shalala, former president, and she was under the Obama administration for some time. She started that hospital, so in terms of like purchasing the hospital and whatnot. So I guess you can thank her years after the fact. But I just find it interesting because Miami's been, to say that they've underachieved since being ACC is a gross understatement. But
yeah,
I'll say this, man. I tried to pick Miami every year, and I stopped picking them this year to win the Coastal. So I'll say this, man. If the administration puts the money where their mouths are, right? It seems that they are behind Bradakovich and giving Cristobal a huge salary. It seems like they are, right? It's just a matter of, I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think that when, as far as the turnaround and game, because they got the quarterback at Tyler Van Dyke. We all agree with that. So I think we're combining that with the recruiting. I think it will take, this is a 2 to 3 year build. Getting the offensive line, getting the depth in the relationships, because Cristobal knows South Florida very, very well. And so that's going to start, because remember, in addition to Oregon, Alabama has come into South Florida. Ole Miss has come into South Florida. Lane Kiffin said many times he loves South Florida, which is why people thought that he was a candidate to go to Miami, right before Ole Miss gave him that huge extension. But anyway, you need someone to build walls around South Florida or the state of Miami. And I think Cristobal, with his recruiting chops, again, he got all those guys come to Oregon. He did that. If you can get him to go to Oregon, I know Oregon has the fly-ass facilities. I know that's a Nike wonderland there. I get all that. And I see some pictures. It's gorgeous. It's freaking gorgeous. But to get him from South Florida to go ball in the Northwest Pacific Northwest. He can get those same kids to stay home. And good for Mario Cristobal, good for the fan base. It just sucks for Manny Diaz. So that's it is what it is there.
He'll land on his feet somewhere.
Oh yeah, he'll be fine. Again, that buyout, he has several million reasons to be okay. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
He'll be okay. He'll be okay. Manny will be okay.
Right. So Virginia, a couple more, right quick. I want to hit on Virginia Tech, Matthew's alma mater, his beloved Hokies. What do you think of the hiring the Penn State's former defensive coordinator? I don't know much about him, so hopefully you should shed some light on your take on this.
Well, I thought hiring Brent Pry, I thought that was really a move for the fan base, because we're talking about somebody who was a graduate assistant at Virginia Tech. So he's been ingrained in the culture of the university. He worked for Frank Beamer. He worked for Bud Foster. He got his graduate degree there. He got his teaching under Bud Foster. He's built top 10 defenses at several different colleges like Penn State, Vanderbilt, Georgia Southern. We're talking about somebody who's got 30 years of coaching experience. He hasn't been a head coach at the FBS level, but we're talking about somebody who cares about defense. And I think you had to bring that culture back to Blacksburg. You guys both know that when Virginia Tech was really good, the defenses were crazy good at Virginia Tech. You just didn't score on them. Sometimes you didn't sniff positive yardage in the first half. Right.
I remember that.
In 2005, defense was one of the ACC's best ever. And that's kind of what I thought that hire was all about. It was also about reestablishing recruiting relationships in Virginia and trying to reestablish those relationships in the 757 and the 804 Highland Springs, right, in Richmond, Virginia. I mean, that's really what that hire was all about. They appear to be, if you look at some of the hires that are coming in, Scott and Jeff, that they're going with a bunch of younger coaches coming in, and I mean, they've got a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator. They're both coming in. They're 32 years old.
Yeah.
These are pretty young guys, guys that are coming in, but they're pretty highly regarded position assistants that had been at those positions for several years that are coming in with Brent Pry, but also got their tutoring from him at Penn State, where Penn State also had those top 10 defenses. And, bringing in the OC from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just got big praise from Dwight Vick, who played offensive line at Virginia Tech. Todd Washington, who played offensive line at Virginia Tech, is the offensive line coach in Jacksonville right now. And he apparently has high praise for Coach Bowen, who's coming in as the OC. So there are some good endorsements that are coming from the community, from the Hokie community as well. So, I mean, it appears to be, this is one of those things where you really had to hit the culture, the Virginia Tech Hokie fan base with the hire, because I don't think Justin Fuente really hit that culture of the fan base.
I don't think he gave a damn. I don't think he gave a damn. That's just me. I don't think he gave a damn.
He didn't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I don't think Fuente really gave a hoot about the state of Virginia. About recruiting in the state. I mean, because you guys remember, I know you guys remember this as well as I do. I mean, between 2005 and 2008, Virginia Tech owned the 757.
Yeah, Taiwan era, yeah.
Owned it.
Yeah.
And if you own this state, whether it's Richmond and the 757, if you own this state, you're going to have a good football team.
Right. That's what Beamer did.
Yes. And, you can't ever own the state again because there's too much good football played here. Right.
Right.
And people know about it now. It's not a secret anymore.
Right.
But you can't get shut out with the recruits either.
Yeah.
You've got, so, but that was more my take on the hire. I mean, I can't make any judgments yet because I haven't seen him coach a football game yet. The judgments come in when you see what those recruiting classes look like, when you see what those results are on the field. But, the first day and the second day that those guys were hired, they were in planes already in the 757. They were already there,
There you go.
That's what people want to see, that you're coming out trying to get kids from Virginia to come in. And, he comes highly regarded, from, people in the coaching profession, I suppose, like a lot of coaches, right? I mean,
Right.
nobody's going to downgrade a coach. They're going to come out there and say, yeah, he's good hire, because coaching is a fraternity, right? People do that.
Right on.
But,
Right on.
But for him, he was a 2021 Broyles nominee, right, for defensive coordinator. He comes in highly regarded, and he's had 30 years of coaching experience.
Yeah.
So
right.
They got somebody with a lot of experience and somebody who's gonna, clearly gonna try to upgrade the talent on the field.
Well, let me ask you this, Matthew, right quick. So there was a time when Virginia Tech played East Carolina every year. I think that was before recruiting reasons, because Beamer hit that area part, not only the Tidewater region, but part of that region of North Carolina, like the I don't know what the hell he used to call it, but that region between Greenville and the Virginia state border.
Sure.
But did Forte kill that series?
I think that was a. I guess not really, but I think that was kind of done by the administration, because I think that there was a cancellation on the part of ECU.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during, I guess it was, there was some sort of hurricane. I have to go back and remember the history about all of it. But, and I honestly, I can't remember all the history behind it, because I think it's been almost a couple of years now. But I don't think he killed it. I think that was done by the administration.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually were going to find a way, I think, to they were actually going to try to pair them together in the military. I think that was one of the thoughts, right? I really thought Virginia Tech was going to play ECU in the military bowl.
Oh.
And somehow that got killed. I think that got killed again, probably because they're not going to end up playing each other in football again, I think, for quite some time.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. But I'll say this, and I know you guys both agree with this. How many times does Virginia Tech play Louisville?
Right.
Yep.
I'd like to see Virginia Tech play Louisville before I'd like to see Virginia Tech play East Carolina. And we play Louisville like probably every 10 years, Scott and Jeff.
Right. That's why I don't like divisions. That's why I hate divisions.
I'd rather see that.
Yeah. I hate divisions. That's why
I'd
I hate
rather
divisions.
see us play Wake Forest.
Right.
Right. It never happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, East Carolina's a bit far down on my list before I want to get to a few more ACC teams before we get to East Carolina.
Understood. So one more thing about Virginia Tech, man, is this. What are your expectations? I know you reserve until you see the recruits, but it can't be as bad as it was in the Fuente years, because was it that bad with, I guess the question within the question, did Fuente had that bad relationship with the local coaches in the Tidewater area? In Richmond? Was it really that bad? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. How do you fuck that up? How do you mess that up? I mean,
I don't know, man. I mean, you have to. I mean, you have, and I guess he started improving that last year, but here's the thing, because a lot of us, I mean, it looked. I've said this 1,000 times to Jeff, that it was. The hire was highly proclaimed by the media, by the coaching industry.
I remember that.
By everybody. I mean, Fuente had an incredible turnaround at Memphis, right?
Right.
And it looked like he was the next hot superstar. And all the references checked, and it just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get it wrong, but as an AD, you can't get it wrong twice.
Correct.
you know? And
Be your
so
ass.
everybody's going to be watching it this time around.
Yeah, because it's going to be the AD's ass this time around. Babcock.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so it's
And
going to be
he's
on
done
him.
well in all of his other hires too. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, it's just that you can't mess football up twice, especially at Blacksburg.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I think as long as this guy, and he's a Virginia Tech guy, that you guys bring it back. So he understands the Tidewater region, the importance. He understands Richmond. He understands that part of Eastern Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, I should say. So that was y'all's bread and butter for several years.
Yep, definitely.
And you know, I think it will take some of the time. It's just a matter of building trust. So and everything. So we'll go with that. Last coaching thing I want to hit on, Jeff, is Duke. I don't think Duke has filled his head coaching vacancy yet, but I just want to just say, I just want to give David Cutcliffe his flowers. He made Duke's football program relevant.
Yes.
I mean, I remember the lean years after Steve Spurrier in the 80s. Yes. I mean, it's actually, they got legit facilities now, Duke does. And whatnot, better than Virginia's. But at any rate, the point being is that now it's not, I think Cutcliffe has left it in a lot better shape than when he inherited it over 10 years ago. So what are your thoughts, Jeff, on his legacy? And I guess it sounded like he was kind of forced out. I mean, because it was a mutual agreement, because we all know what that means. Someone's getting forced out. So just touch quickly on how great his legacy is as a Duke head football coach.
I think as the years get separated from his time there, they're going to look back and an absolute high water mark in Duke football. David Cutcliffe, kind of like I think you mentioned it earlier. You know, before Cutcliffe got there, they always talked about the '89 team that Steve Spurrier coached.
Right.
And I think that that Cutcliffe is going to be held very much in that same regard, 10 years from now, because it's even though I completely agree that he's leaving it in a better place than when he got there, especially facilities wise.
Mm-hmm.
That is an extremely difficult place to win football games. It's just so hard to recruit there. It's tough academically. Your program is constantly overshadowed by basketball. Even after Krzyzewski leaves, it's still going to be overshadowed by basketball. The attendance for games there is usually terrible. Even when they're winning, they don't support the program, and it's just going to be so hard to recruit players there. And I think that's one of the differences with what Wake Forest can do with Duke. When Wake Forest wins, they start packing their stadium. When Duke wins, it's still half empty. They just don't support that program at all. And I think the next coach, whoever it is, I don't think it's going to be Tony Elliott. It could end up being Jason Garrett, the offensive,
oh my God,
former offensive coordinator.
Are you serious?
I've seen his name pop up on a couple of things.
He's inspiring.
Yeah.
I've always wanted Mike Houston to come to Duke, from ECU. You just mentioned ECU, Scott.
Yeah.
Mike Houston should come to Duke and make sure that conditioning program changes and they have speed all over the field, because that's what Mike Houston would do.
I'm a little bit surprised that the Will Healy's name has not come up more for the Duke job. I mean, I thought I saw it tossed around a little bit, but the Charlotte 49er head coach I thought was going to be in a pretty good position to make a run at that.
Right.
But
that's because he's going to Virginia.
Duh.
Right? I mean, I would.
I think anything is possible at this point.
Why not?
Given the crazy hires, we haven't even talked about Lincoln Riley and company, but
yeah, absolutely.
But
whoever takes over, I was going to say, whoever ends up taking over for Duke, I mean, if he just gets them back to being bowl eligible, is going to have done a remarkable job, because talent-wise, Duke is they're in the bottom. They're at the
Right.
bottom of the Power Five talent wise. There's very few legitimate talents on that team. They had the Mateo Durant at running back. And he's not coming back, and there's just very, very little talent in that program. So if whoever brings the next coach comes in, he gets them to at least where they're bowl eligible. It's probably just going to move on. That's going to be a very, very, very difficult job for whoever takes over.
So who's your wish list? Your realistic wish list of candidates for Duke football?
Healy was the one that I thought was in pretty good position for that.
Mhm.
I mean, when the names come up, when you saw Tony Elliott's name come up for it, you just think like, is this really a job? Does Tony Elliott want the job? So it's going to have to be someone who wants to be there. Not that Tony Elliott didn't want the job, but
Right.
This is Duke is a place where a lot of coaches, they get their early coaching job, and then if they don't, it's so difficult to win there. If they're struggling, I mean, your career is pretty much shot for
Right.
for several years.
Mhm.
Ted Roof went there, and he ends up not he had really struggled there at Duke, and hadn't been able to get a head coaching position to my knowledge since then.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so it's going to be hard for them to find one. I think they're going to have to probably go eventually group of 5 coach, a young guy,
Mhm.
and then try to hold on to him for 3 or 4 years. If they have any success, that coach will just move on.
It's a stepping stone job at this point, basically.
Exactly. I really think so. They were very fortunate to have David, a quality coach of that caliber, for so long.
Mhm. So we'll close this segment on this, guys.